3, 2, 1. Good evening and welcome to the Women's Caucus meeting. It is Tuesday, January 26th, and we are meeting a little bit later than usual because we were following a Budget and Finance Committee meeting that I hope a couple of folks were able to join in with. So we will wait until we have a quorum to deal with things that we have to vote on. I'm going to read the electronic meetings motion and ask someone to second that, and then we'll come back and vote on it later. Pursuant to Governor Lee's Executive Order number 816 regarding electronic meetings as extended by Executive Orders number 34, 51, 60, and 71, I make a motion that this committee meeting agenda constitutes essential business of the Metro Council, and that meeting electronically is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 outbreak. We are still not quite to a quorum, so we won't vote on that, but we'll leave it hanging in the air and come back and vote to it when we hit critical mass. So with that, I'm going to unofficially take roll. I see Councilmember Evans and Councilmember Welsh and Gamble and Hauser and Sepulveda. And we will acknowledge others as they arrive. Thank y'all for being here. We have a short agenda and we'll try to be quick because there are other meetings starting at 6. But we'll run through the agenda, which Rosie sent out to everyone. I now see Councilmember Henderson. Thank you for joining us. First item on the agenda is review of minutes of both the November and the December meetings. Those were sent out to you earlier. Do folks have any corrections that need to be made to those? I don't see any hands, and thank you to Councilmember Evans for filling in a whole lot of gaps from my cursory notes being taken on those. And I'll just do an audio check. I'm not using my headset, but I can if I'm muffled. Let me know if you can hear me.
Berkeley, could you put your headphone on? It's really hard to understand you.
That was my question. Let's see if that makes it better. Hold on. All right. Okay, is that better? Can I get a thumbs up if that's better or worse?
Needs to be a little louder.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
No.
Is that better? I'm turning up every kind of volume I can.
Can't hear you now at all.
No.
Can you hear me?
Can you move your microphone down more towards your mouth?
That's as far as it goes.
Okay.
I can't hear you, Emily, either.
Councilwoman Allen, this is Sade from Metro IT. If you go to the top of your screen where it says audio and video,
Right.
and then speaker and microphone settings,
Yes.
where it says your microphone input volume, if that's low, turn that volume bar up a little bit.
All right. I have bumped that up. Does that help?
Try and go some more.
I've gone all the way as far as I can.
Well, that's a little bit better, but we may just have to deal with it.
All right. I've also got this nifty silver thing on my stuff. Okay. I've turned it up so that I can hear you very well. Okay. Was it better with the headset or without
I
it?
suddenly can hear no one. And nothing has changed on.
Better without. There's some background feed noise as well.
Yeah. All right, let's try without. Okay, is that better?
Perfect.
Okay, all right, I've turned my volume up there, so hopefully that has helped. All right, who has joined us? I see we now have Councilmember Stout, Porterfield. Thank y'all for being here. Adding you to the present list. All right, I think that gets us to a quorum. So with that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, so close. All right, when one more member joins us, then we will have a quorum. Councilmember Porterfield, you're recognized while we're waiting.
Thank you, Chair. Councilmember Toombs is about to join on, but she will be joining via phone.
Okay.
So I think we'll have quorum when she joins.
Great. All right, that sounds good. Then we'll officially move on. So we are, and there I see Councilmember Van Rees. We are at a quorum. Do I have a motion on the electronic meetings statement?
So moved.
Moved. Second.
Great. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, I will read through who I think the ayes are. Let me know if this is correct or not. I have voting in the affirmative, Evans, Welsh, Stiles, Allen, Van Rees, Sepulveda, Hauser, Porterfield, Henderson, and Gamble. Is that correct? Any corrections to that? Okay. And did I get everybody who is now here? Awesome. Okay, so with that, we will move on to the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at the November minutes, and are there any corrections? Hearing no corrections to be made, is there a motion to accept the November minutes as submitted?
So moved.
Okay, Councilmember moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Great. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
All right. As I heard it, the applying in the voting in the affirmative were Evans, Wells, Stiles, Allen, Van Rees, Sepulveda, Hauser, Porterfield, Henderson, and Gamble. Any corrections to that? Okay, the minutes of the November meeting are accepted. Next, we will move on to the minutes of the December meeting. Thank you very much, Councilmember Evans. Any corrections to those? I see Councilmember Porterfield's hand up, but I think that's from other things. Anyone else have any comments on December minutes? If not, is there a motion to accept the December minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any in opposition? Hearing no opposition, the ayes were Evans, Welsh, Stiles, Allen, Van Rees, Sepulveda, Hauser, Porterfield, Henderson, and Gamble. And the minutes of both of those are approved unanimously. All right. With that, we will move on to the review and and hopefully approval of the bylaws. That's to be discussed. Those were discussed by a small group of us at the December meeting, incorporating revisions that Councilmember Evans, Stiles, and I worked on based on the comments that we'd gotten at the November meeting. So I hope people have had a chance to look at that. I think, share my screen and we can go through those briefly if that would be helpful. All right, I'm going to try sharing my screen. How's that? Okay. All right. What I see on my screen is we had several sections. We talked about our mission. What was open for discussion was the expanded version. We said the mission of the Metro Nashville Women's Caucus is to ensure the Metro Council responds to issues that affect women, children, and families. This section was still open for some discussion. The caucus will seek to accomplish this mission through maintaining Metro Council focus on how council policies affect women, children, and families. The caucus will seek opportunities to protect the safety and security of women through education, empowerment, and action. The caucus will promote the toolkit provided by the Mayor's Council on the State of Women. Are there comments on that statement? Does this group feel like it is refined enough that we would be comfortable accepting that, knowing that we can make further revisions later if that becomes necessary? Let's see, I'll have to unshare my screen to see if anyone is raising your hand or if anyone wants to just speak out so we can continue to look at it. Any comments on that?
Madam Chair, Councilmember Henderson's hand is up.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Allen. So we have the mission, and then this is an action statement, or will both of those be combined, given the redundancy? I'm a little unclear.
I think that's the second statement is an action statement, if you will, or simply an expansion of how we intend to accomplish that mission.
Okay, I would just point out a little bit of redundancy there, and then as well, I mean, we're saying by way of mission that we respond to issues, and then we're saying we'll accomplish this mission. We'll seek opportunities. We will protect through education, empowerment, action. There's no mention of policy here. We're legislators, so I just thought maybe policy needs to be mentioned. I mean, I think education, education awareness policy. I think we're maybe using some words that are good words, but are, what will be, I don't know. Just those are my thoughts.
Okay, I appreciate that. Sounds like at least one request for further revision. We do talk about council policy since the council is the group that will actually pass legislation. So I'm going to keep that highlighted and look through additional sections. And if we need to appoint several people to work further on that statement, I would welcome that suggestion. Article 2 is on membership. We had agreed that any current member of the Metro Council who supports our mission may be a member with disregard to gender, and that we currently are not looking at associate members. Any comments on that section?
Chair Allen.
Councilmember Henderson.
I wonder if, just for simplicity's sake, since we're the Women's Caucus, it's not necessarily that I would say our male colleagues can't participate, but would that perhaps be like an associate membership? Like, I think sometimes what you get into is, while it would be appreciated if, male colleagues would join us in these efforts, then, one joins, others don't. Should we all join? I think for simplicity's sake, it's the Women's Caucus. We're the women of the council, kind of the end. I would welcome our male colleagues' participation, but I don't know what them being a member, I just think it complicates things personally.
Other comments on that? Councilmember Evans, if you can continue to tell me about raised hands, then I'll keep the screen focused on this. Any other comments?
Yes. So I'm sorry, you want me to tell you about raised hands?
Yes.
Oh, okay, sure. So you have Nancy Van Rees has her hand raised.
Councilmember Van Rees, you're right.
Hi. I think that we're all hoping that this, all this effort on the bylaws will set a precedent for future renditions of the Women's Caucus, right? So we may have more, we may have less, we may have some non-binary members, we may have some transgender members that join the council. Even, not to make it too sticky, but I think that if you're saying the Women's Caucus, I think it's, it's kind of known to be women identified, if you will. With that, I think that any male identified member of the Metro Council, either now or in the future, that wants to support the Women's Caucus will always be welcome, but I don't think that they would necessarily be a member of the Women's Caucus. That's just my point of view.
I think that echoes what I heard from Councilmember. Other comments?
Councilwoman Hauser has her hand raised.
Councilmember Hauser, you're recognized.
Yes, kind of backing with what Councilmember Van Rees had said. I know in a women's organization I'm part of, we have changed our language to say identified as women.
Okay. So any current member, shall I, as a woman in the singular of the current member of Metro Council. All right, that's what I think I'm hearing being suggested. May be a member. So with that, we have, do we need to go back to then allowing people who do not identify as a woman to be associate members? We had decided at the last meeting, or at least the 5 of us that were there, were.
I think just a slight adjustment.
Sure.
Instead of just saying identified as, because that sounds like somebody external identifies, who self-identify might be better.
Okay, thank you. Identified as a woman. How's that?
Ms. Hauser is absolutely correct. That would correspond with the blue book of the National Journalistic Association of such matters. Self-identification is something that this committee hopefully will continue to advocate in regard to policy, and so I think that'd be appropriate.
Councilwoman Henderson's hand is raised.
Councilmember Henderson, you recognize again.
I wanted to ask, I mean, are you a member of the Women's Caucus by virtue of self-identifying as a woman who serves on the council, or do you proactively choose to be a member and pay dues? So I guess that was a question in the past when we started this group. By default, are all women elected to the council members of this caucus, or is it proactively a choice through payment of membership? So I think maybe.
Yeah, this does say may be a member, and we do deal with dues further down. Other comments or proposed answers to that question? Okay.
There are no hands raised.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my hand is raised. I do have my.
That's a member style.
You have your check mark up.
It showed a hand. Okay. Sorry about that. But I think we had previously stated that it was as long as you were a woman and you were part of council, you were automatically a part of the Women's Caucus. And as a member of the caucus, then the conversation becomes, do we want to have dues? And if we do have dues, besides meals, which I guess was done previously, what would those dues go towards and how much our dues would be?
Right, and that's taken up in a further section. I think as we've said it here, we have said anyone who would like to be, who is self-identified and supports the mission may be a member. We are not automatically assuming that they are, but should they choose and they show up, then we would consider them a member. For the purposes of establishing a quorum, I have been working off anyone who has ever shown up at a meeting. To me, has shown that they were interested. So at this point, that number is 20. Any comments on that? Are we ready to?
There are no hands raised and no check marks.
Okay, no check marks.
Thank you.
Could you collapse as well? Let's march through the articles, and then at the end we can decide yes, we've solved everything, or no, we need to keep working on this, and I'll get a few people to volunteer to wordsmith. Officers and board of directors. We agreed that the officers would be a chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer if we do have dues, and that they would be elected at the first meeting of each council year and hold office for 1 year. When we have established what the powers and duties are by their titles, the chair will establish the agenda, conduct the meetings, and establish and appoint committees. And the vice chair will preside at half the meetings of the Women's Caucus and sit ex officio on all committees. We have not officially elected a vice chair yet, but I will happily share the meeting chairing as soon as we do that. And the secretary, which currently acting secretary, is Councilmember Aaron Evans. keeping complete records of all transactions, resolutions, and meetings with assistants and staff personnel. And the treasurer will collect dues if required, set up and maintain a caucus bank account, and make payments and provide records should we need an audit. Any comment on the duties of the officers?
Councilwoman Stiles has her hand raised.
Member Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Chair. I can't remember if we discussed this, but I know there was a mention, I thought, early on about succession and how we were delineating how we were proceeding. So we're not doing succession.
Let's see. Let me see if that's covered under vacancies or elections. Okay, that's as much as we have right there. So what we have talked about is qualifications of the election process is that it would be at the second caucus meeting. Nominations would be taken from the floor, and vacancies will be filled by succession of the vice chair up to the chair, and secretary up to the vice chair. And a vacancy in the secretary will continue till a new qualified person is elected. So we have succession in the case of vacancies. We do not have an automatic succession in the case of officers. Right now, it is elected at the beginning of each year.
Thank you. That's what I needed for clarification. I knew it was somewhere.
Gotcha. Any other comments on qualifications and duties of officers for the election process?
No hands are raised except for Councilwoman Stiles, so I assume that's an old hand and not a new hand.
Councilmember Stiles, anything else to add to that?
That was an old hand, Chair.
Old hand, okay. All right. All right, then Article 4 is concerning meetings and voting. We have talked about having a regular meeting or special meetings, and that those will be determined by resolution. Right now, we have settled upon the fourth Tuesday of the month. And also that the chair can call special meetings. Notices will be delivered to the electronic addresses 7 days before the meetings, provided notice is also required. That any notice required by this section may be waived before such meetings. And as we know, there are times when things come up and we need to act quickly. So I think that flexibility within our bylaws is reasonable. I think we are still bound by public notice 48 hours requirements. Members voting in all meetings, each member shall be entitled to one vote. That shall be by voice vote unless a roll call vote is demanded by 10% or more of the voters present at the meeting. A majority vote of voters present at the meeting shall be required for election of an officer or for passage of a matter brought before the business. There shall be no proxy, but we do talk about electronic voting farther down. A quorum at each meeting shall consist of a simple majority of the dues-paying members if dues are required or the full membership. At the moment, we're working off the full membership, which is all 20 of us. Member resolution on policies. We may adopt official policies on issues that are focus of those. Those shall be submitted in writing by any member 30 days before the next regularly scheduled meeting, which essentially would be the meeting before. Or if there's a special meeting, then in writing before that one. Unless 2/3 adopt a reduction of that timeline, which again may be necessary in times when a hot topic comes up and we need to act quickly, as we have done already. And then we talk about voting electronically, except as otherwise provided by these bylaws. A matter may be submitted to a vote electronically if meeting in person is not feasible in a timely manner. The response must come from the electronic address designated by the member, which would be the nashville.gov address. Any comments on meeting and voting?
Councilwoman Henderson has her hand raised.
Councilmember Henderson, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. For the section resolutions on policy, might that be clearer if you were to say policy resolutions? I think it's not quite clear to me. the caucus may adopt official policies of the caucus on issues that are a focus of the caucus. Like that is a not very clear sentence in section A there.
Can you propose a improvement to that?
So basically what we are saying here is a resolution that the council wants to advance on a policy of particular interest to us, like domestic violence or early childhood education, right? So this is like a resolution, right? So if we're saying that we adopt,
So there's two parts. We can adopt official policies of the caucus, and then we can issue resolutions.
Is it not that the caucus will promulgate resolutions in support of the matters of focus of the caucus? I mean, it's the way it's written sounds like we're adopting policies for our own personal governance, not to address broader policy issues. Like it's almost sounds to me like it's written kind of backwards.
All right, we're adopting official policies on issues that are focus of the caucus. How can we say that better so that it conveys what you said?
I'm just going to take a picture of this section and attempt to rewrite it while we're talking.
Okay, and again, if we get to the end and decide we need several people to take this and run with it, we can do that another time. Although it would be nice to adopt it enough so that we can go ahead and officially elect the rest of the officers. Let's see, finally, Article 5 is financial matters. Dues and charges, we have said annual membership dues shall be established by resolution. By the second meeting, by 2/3 vote. At this point, we have not yet come up with anything to spend money on, so we've not yet. And perhaps while we're still meeting virtually, there's no reason to assume that we will need dues. And it does not have to be in the bylaws what those dues are. That's an item that I will add to our business. Fiscal year will run from September 1 to August 31. We will plan and approve an annual budget, and the financial obligations will be incurred on the basis of the budget that will be prepared by the caucus treasurer as soon as we elect one and approved by the membership. We did agree that sponsorships would be allowed only for community events open to non-members, and that if an annual audit of some type would be made by our financial affairs by a qualified member of the Metro Council. And so that could include someone who is not a member of the caucus. Comments on the financial section of this?
Councilwoman Stiles has her hand raised.
Councilwoman Stiles.
Thank you, Chair. Could you review again the audit if needed? You said would perhaps be done by someone that was not in the caucus?
Yes, I mean, what we've said is an annual audit shall be made of the financial affairs of the Women's Caucus by a qualified member of the Metro Council. And so if there is someone on the council who has expertise and no one on the caucus that has expertise, I think that was to enable us to reach outside our own. I mean, we happen to have an accountant on the caucus, so that may not necessarily apply to this particular group. Comments on that?
In that case, I do not have any. Thank you.
Okay. Shall I unhighlight the section on sponsorships? Are we agreed that that's, if we were to do it, that would be the only condition we would be comfortable doing that?
Chair, oh, never mind. I was about to recognize, Quante Toombs has her hand raised.
Councilmember Toombs is here. Let me, okay, Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. On the sponsorship section, are there any campaign finance concerns with elected officials accepting money, even if it's part as the Women's Caucus?
I think we may have to get legal input on that. If there are any lawyers on the caucus who would like to follow up on that.
I can follow up.
Okay, you are hired. Into the minutes. Let's see, review of bylaws. Oops, sorry. We'll research campaign finance. Relative to sponsorships. Hopefully that tells us enough. Okay, back to the bylaws. I think that's an excellent question. We'll look on that. Okay, anything else on the financial section? Okay, so I'm gonna re-highlight at least this piece of it. We still have one question. That's what the highlighting means. Finally, Article 6 is amendments. These bylaws may be repealed or amended at a regular meeting or electronically. 2/3 of the majority of the membership shall be necessary to pass such an amendment. Amendments may be proposed by initiatory petition signed by members present at the meeting or any officer of the caucus. So we have a process for amendments. Any comments on the process for amendments? Hearing none. Article 7 is parliamentary procedure. Simply adopting Robert's Rules of Orders shall prevail, unless we have specific rules dealing with something. Any comments on our parliamentary procedure? So to recap, I think there is still some desire for further refinement on our action statement and on, let's see, policy resolutions. Councilmember Henderson is working on that, and Councilmember Coombs will do some research on the sponsorships. Do we feel like we are, it sounds to me like we perhaps should wait one more meeting and get those issues finalized, and then hopefully we would be ready to vote at the next meeting. Other comments from other members?
Councilwoman Stiles has her hand raised.
Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with your suggestion.
Okay, so council members Coombs and Henderson, by default, I would ask for you to volunteer to be on the revision committee, and if I could get one more person to join them that would be willing to present us with a refined version of these three pieces, then we can move on. Anyone else would like to join that team?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to work on the mission and then the rewrite of, I guess is it Article 3, Section 4, the policy resolution? I wrote down Section 4, but I wasn't sure which article.
It is Article, hold on. Policy resolutions.
Article 4, Section 4. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Chair, Councilmember Stiles has her hand raised.
Councilmember Stiles. Are you
Thank you,
volunteering?
Chair. I will continue to help with these.
Okay, great.
Sections not done.
Thank you. I appreciate your ongoing work with that. So, all right, with that, requirements, Stiles, and Henderson.
Chair, Councilwoman Porterfield has her hand raised.
Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you, Chair. I just had a really brief suggestion. Could you go back to the, I believe it was Article 4, the piece that Councilmember Henderson was working on?
Yes, just a second. Here I go. That right there, policy resolutions?
My really simple suggestion, and it may not encompass everything, but my simple suggestion was the caucus may adopt official policies on issues that are a focus of the members. I think that makes it a lot more clear.
Gotcha.
Agreed, Councilwoman Porterfield. Yes, simplify.
I think you could take out the word caucus before members,
Right.
so that are the focus of the members.
Of the members. Of the caucus, not the council. Okay, cool. That's great. Thank you for that. Okay.
Also, I'm not sure, colleagues, is adopt the right verb there? I mean, we're basically promulgating a resolution for passage by the council. Is that what we're saying? I think what I'm confused about, Chair Allen, is the way this is written. This sounds like these are policies that are only internal to the caucus and governing the caucus, rather than like external facing on the issues that we would draw together resolutions voted on by our body and then file those as resolutions to the larger council, right? That's what we're talking about.
Adopt is not the right word. I mean, it does say policies on issues that are focus of the members, but it sounds like when we say adopt, it sounds like we are, so perhaps the word is discuss, or I think that's the troublesome word right there.
Madam Chair, it's also, I mean, we could also substitute policies for positions, like the body is taking a position on a particular issue. And my assumption would be that if there's legislation that may impact women in particular, that may be something that the body votes on to see if the caucus wants to take a particular stand on it.
That's a good point. I'm going to leave these highlighted and turn them over to three capable women who have volunteered to help, and we'll resolve this at our next meeting. Does that sound like a plan? Okay, great. Y'all are hired. So with that, we are not yet adopting the bylaws, but we have moved closer, and I appreciate that. Do we want to continue to wait on having official bylaws before we officially elect the rest of the officers? All right, with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I can see faces and hands. Great. Gotcha. So, strong thoughts or feelings on, what was next? Oh, elections. In theory, at some point we have bylaws and then we continue with elections. Did I call this to order? Yes, I did. At this point, we don't have an official way to elect officers, so if people feel like we should wait, I would suggest that Councilmember Evans continue as acting secretary and Councilmember Stiles continue as acting vice president, acting vice chair. Any objections to that suggestion?
Second.
I heard a second. All those in favor? Say aye.
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 Any in opposition? And voting in favor was Evans, Welsh, Stiles, Allen, Van Rees, Sepulveda, Hauser, Porterfield, Henderson, Gamble, and Toombs, unless Gamble has left, which is possible. Gamble is gone. Okay, great. So with that, we have moved on to new business. We, in our past meetings, expressed an interest in inviting interim health director, Dr. Wright, to a meeting, and also having Chief Drake back. So I would propose, if they are available, to have the health director in February and Chief Drake back in March, and would be open for suggestions of other people this group needs to hear from. Comments on that? Yeas, nays? Okay. I don't believe we need to vote. I'm going to take the, yes.
Oh, if I could, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Van Rees.
My hand was, but okay. Hi. Okay. I think I'd like to kind of get in queue to have HR come and speak to us about diversity issues and reporting issues. And if we're looking at February, March, I mean, if we ask perhaps for Shannon Hall to come talk to us in April, I think that would be good. I know that it would be interesting to kind of see how the Metro Human Relations Commission documents have informed any sort of decisions that they're making on hiring policies and procedures, and get that conversation done prior to the budget might be prudent. So if we're going to look further out, I would make that suggestion. I'm open to feedback.
Okay, and Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to suggest, with the invitation of Dr. Wright, that perhaps at his suggestion, early childhood and maternal health, some of those issues that if whomever he has on staff that is lead for those policy areas, it might be good to have those folks join him at that time. So just looking at those areas of policy interest, and rather than, welcome and be delighted to speak with just Dr. Wright, but I think for a more productive conversation, perhaps inviting some of his peers that lead those areas would be worthwhile.
Great. Okay. That's been added to the notes. Good suggestion. Thank you. Any other suggestions on, other future topics? Great. Any other new business? I will say none. Old business, we have done a good job with monthly resolutions. Thanks to all of you who have written those in the past. We did have the recognition of the 4th anniversary of the Women's March. I appreciate the work that Councilmember Gamble and others did on that. We have suggestions for February and March. I'm sorry. Yeah, February and March. February is Black History Month, so that may offer a theme that we would want to latch on to there. I think it's several other things as well.
Chair, I don't know if you're back looking at your own hands again or if I need to keep going, but Councilwoman Hauser, Van Rees have their hands raised.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Hauser. Councilmember Hauser, you're recognized.
Thank you. One of the groups that would be good to come talk to us is Awake, which is the Advocates for Women and Kids Equality. They've been very successful at the state level of working on legislation that is in support of women and children. And so
Okay.
it would be good to come speak with us.
Great. Okay. Do you
I
you have
can send you
contact?
contact info if you need that.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that suggestion. And Councilmember Van Rees.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody that February is Heart Healthy Month for women, and usually the first meeting in February, we all wear red or have a red pin on or something that we could do, rather than the issue getting lost in yet another resolution. I'm curious if there's anyone on the caucus that would be ready to write some sort of letter to the editor regarding heart healthy women, and kind of do that and some sort of public comment regarding that issue rather than just a resolution.
Gotcha. Great. Any volunteers for that? Anyone with it? Councilmember Welsh, are you on another topic or are you volunteering for that?
No, I will volunteer for that.
Okay, great. You are hired. Thank you. Okay. Gotcha. Thanks for the suggestion and the volunteering. Okay, that's great. Anything for the second half of February or March? Keep thinking. I'm sure opportunities will come up. Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You mentioned that February being Black History Month, or do we have a resolution already prepared for Black History Month?
Not that I am aware of, and it'd be great to do that one in cooperation with or collaboration with the Minority Caucus. Are you volunteering?
I will volunteer, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I will sign you up. Okay, Porterfield. Great. Okay, 2, that's good. I think that's excellent. All right, be thinking about March.
May I be recognized again?
Yes, Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
I'd be more than happy to help with the resolution and making sure that the Black History Month and the Women's Caucus and the Minority Caucus work together both in February and March consistently for Black History Month and Women's History Month, and to try to do as much as we can to kind of coincide those things.
Okay.
I've been working on a project regarding Diane Nash, and I don't think that we've ever actually kind of made a point to recognize Diane Nash as an African American woman. So depending on what the Minority Caucus feels about that, I think that it would be kind of a good way to have a person as a subject to highlight, as opposed to a lot of things to highlight. So I would love to get feedback on that.
I think that's a great plan. I guess we could invite her up here.
Down. I think she's in Chicago, but yeah.
Okay, Council Member Stiles, and then Porterfield.
Thank you, Chair. I was actually just going to respond in regards to Diane Nash attending. I was just working on a project and we had wanted to feature her as well, and she is not doing any events at this time.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if that changes, I would certainly love to share that with you.
Okay. Glad you're on that one. And Councilmember Porterfield, is that a new request to speak? I see your hand back down. Okay. Old hand. So we're good for resolutions in February, March. So I've just been bringing along our list of key issues just in case we have either an issue to react to or are ready to move forward with any of these topics. So I will just run through them and count on Councilmember Evans to let me know if hands shoot up as I mention things. Domestic violence. I mean, we did have a good conversation with Diane Lance simply with regard to how her office supports women and families experiencing that. Human trafficking, we have not, I think, done anything on at this point. Air quality is Councilmember Hancock. Early childhood education, Councilmember Cash is chairing the committee that is currently looking at that. I'm on that committee. And perhaps when that committee has its final report, then we can coordinate with the caucus at that point and either support theirs or add to what that group is saying.
Chair, Councilwoman Stiles has her hand raised.
Thank you. Councilmember Stiles.
Thank you, Chair. I was wondering if we might be able to look at having Diane back to talk about, and Shannon, to discuss the new language regarding their partnership, the official partnership, some of the requests that we made in our statement about how Office of Family Safety could work with Human Resources officially instead of unofficially. And
right.
I believe we're working on some language to change that.
Okay. I never can remember how many R's and S's there are. Okay, good suggestion. Okay. Other topics were police task force on violence against women. I have, again, Councilmember Van Rees on that one. And John Bunton in the mayor's office. Any follow up on that? I'm
sorry, what? I may have missed. Was I at the meeting? It was.
These are items we brainstormed in our very first meeting, and I had simply written down police task force on violence against women, and then stuck your name back, and then also wrote down John Bunton in the mayor's office.
Okay. I think trying to remember why that would have happened. I know that we were doing some research regarding violence against transgender women. Correct. So that might have been how that kind of dovetailed into that. I'm happy to pick up any loose ball that I may have.
Okay. It was not an action item, it was just, is this something that we want or need to advocate for something on? So I'm just keeping this list out there to trigger if there are action items we need to do. So if you want to just keep holding it, we can certainly do that.
Sure, go ahead and put it in the basket.
Okay, basket. A silent no more is still on our list. Do we feel like more follow-up is needed? I think the request to have Diane Lance and Sharon back to talk about that is the next step there. We also talked about HR and procurement. Are women hired and promoted equitably? Porterfield and Hauser, we're going to look into that. Is that something we want to take up at this point? Anybody burning to do that one? And then finally, we had a statement about Latinx women leaders that Sepulveda had mentioned interest possibly in. So those are simply issues that we brainstormed early on, and I just want to check and see if there's anything happening that would make any of those something we would want to bring to the forefront. I don't necessarily hear any action items other than inviting HR and the Domestic Violence Center back. So I will follow up on that one. Is there anything COVID related that this group needs to be dealing with, advocating, or focusing on? Councilmember Henderson, I'm just now noticing your hand. Is that relevant to this question, or you want to go back and pick up another
It
time?
was not specific to COVID. It was just kind of in the key issues section. So I'm happy to wait till the end, or?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. I was wanting to make sure that I know, particularly early childhood education, I appreciate the effort there, but, that's typically age 3 and up. And so I want to make sure that we're mindful of kind of the importance of, infancy to age 3, parenting support, childcare. Colleagues, I spoke with, I guess, 2 health directors ago now. A lot of city health departments are having kind of really effective, basically, you kind of opt in as a parent when your children are young for just little text reminders about, how to engage with your kids. So it's not, like come take a class, or, it's an opt-in type thing with just helpful suggestions. Did you reach your kids today? You sort of set up the reminders if you think they're helpful. It's a lot of cities are doing that. It's a kind of a low cost intervention to help folks, help new moms, help, and as your kids kind of age up. So I think those first 3 years of life are so important to the future of our community and our children. So I just want to make sure, I know that early childhood education gets a lot of attention for, preschool supports and so forth, but I just want to make sure that 0 to 3 space is something that we're focused on as well, please.
Yeah. I think that's really important. Is that something that, is there an easy model we could look at and adopt?
I'd be happy to follow up on that. I sent something to our former colleague now in the mayor's office, Miss Haywood, a few peer cities that were doing something similar. So I will kind of go back and look at that email. But now that we have a new kind of director of health, that's something that I'm just mindful could be a helpful thing for us to advance as a body, or just, again, that's one specific thing, but that space I think is important for us to be mindful of. So I'm happy to focus there and can bring more information about that
Great.
At next meeting.
I think that's great. Okay, great. All right, anything COVID related? I'm looking for hands, don't see any. Okay. Is there anything else that the group feels like we need to talk about, or shall I run through action items? Looking for hands. Okay, so to recap what I can remember of action items, we have a group of 3 who are going to work on bylaws revisions. That is Henderson, Toombs, and Styles. And I have agreed to invite some future speakers and check. We will, we have some people working on resolutions. And that is council members Porterfield and Van Rees working on Black History Month, and Heart Health is Welsh. And then for March resolutions, Van Rees is working on women's history and possibly recognizing Diane Nash. And then under key issues, Councilmember Henderson has agreed to look at the infancy to 3, which I think is great. And Alan has committed to bringing back the information from the early childhood education group. Other things are waiting for a crisis before we jump into them, I guess. So,
Chair, you have 2 hands raised, Councilwoman Van Rees and Councilwoman Henderson.
Councilmember Van Rees, you are recognized.
Yes, just to make clear, Councilmember Porterfield working on the resolution for February is fine. I offer my support if she needs it, but I just wanted to make sure that it was okay with this caucus if for March on our Women's History Month that we focus on Diane Nash.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I have updated the minutes to reflect that. And Councilmember Porterfield.
Thank you. I just wanted to express my support and agreement with focusing on Diane Nash. So, Councilmember Van Rees, I've also been having some conversations that we have not given Diane Nash her flowers while she's still living, and I do think that she deserves so much more. So, I am 100% in support of honoring her in March.
Great. I agree. Okay, so any other action items that I have forgotten? Seeing none, our next meeting is scheduled for February 23rd. We'll go back to 5 o'clock unless we get bumped by some other meeting. And we'll have some great resolutions in the meantime. Any other business that needs to come before the group? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move.
All right, we
Second.
are. Thank you. On to Metro General Town Hall. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Chair.
Good meeting.